Hey, what's good, fam? It's Kyle Henderson of BamaInsider.com coming to you from beautiful Tuscaloosa, Alabama. Hit the thumbs up, like, subscribe. We appreciate you guys being here. On Tuesday, we had a show. Looks like we ran into some technical difficulties, but as you know, we move forward. Today on the show, I wanted to talk about your take on Alabama's new OC and the new DC. So right here you have Kevin Steele pictured. Nick Saban said on Monday that Kevin Steele is going to coach entire defense, going to walk around. Saban said he's even going to walk around. And as you know, Saban refers to himself as a grad assistant working with the defensive backs. Said Travarius Robinson will coach the entire secondary. But as you know, Coach Saban coaches the defensive backs, specifically the corners. Seen him out there doing it many, many times. Loves working on the defensive side of the ball. The call-in line number this morning, 205-850-1994. We will hear from players today. You will get those interviews right here on our YouTube channel, Bama Insider. So definitely hit the thumbs up, like, subscribe. And then you have Alabama basketball taking on San Diego State. That game will be Friday. So a lot to cover, and be eager to chat with you regarding Alabama football and some of the topics that Nick Saban opened up with. What's up, Dean? I see you inside the comment box. Hearing from Nick Saban on Monday, I think some of the biggest takeaways were certainly the fact that Tony Mitchell suspended. And I think a lot of the comments have been geared towards that after the first press conference from Nick Saban. He said there's no such thing as being in the wrong place at the wrong time, right? That's just you have to surround yourself with people, and that's going to kind of dictate your future. And I think a lot of people have seen that as a shot at Nate Oates. Look, I don't know if it was a shot at Nate Oates in the situation revolving around Alabama basketball. We don't know that, but we do know that Nick Saban is a king in the realm of making sure that players are held accountable for their actions. So when it regards to Tony Mitchell, Alabama football, and Nick Saban doing the things that they need to do is follow the legal advice and make sure that they know all the details before Tony Mitchell comes back to the team. So that's kind of the latest on that. And as you know, Tony Mitchell was arrested with a marijuana charge, and believe he was driving up to 141 miles an hour. So I'm sure that Alabama football is vetting and doing all that they can to learn more about that situation. I'm sure you've read the articles, and a lot of people have been talking about that and giving their opinion. Call-in line is 205-850-1994, coming to you from beautiful Tuscaloosa, Alabama. Alabama now in spring football, a day for later part of April. And a lot of people also curious about that quarterback competition. I personally don't think there's going to be a quarterback competition. Not right now. I think these quarterbacks are just getting the reps, but I think Alabama will certainly have Jalen Milroe as the guy who's going to be the number one quarterback at Alabama. And I bring up several points, and I've kind of hit on that the last 2 days when we've had our live shows in the morning. By the way, we'll be coming to you in the mornings at 9 a.m. Central Time. So hit the thumbs up, like, subscribe. I just feel that Jalen Milroe, with the work that he did last year, is going to give him the edge in terms of that starting position at the quarterback position. That's not taken away from Ty Simpson, Dylan Ottergam, or Eli Holsing. I just think that with Jalen Milroe having that experience, he's going to be the guy. What's up, King Joe? I see you inside the comment box. He's saying Ty Simpson number one, and by the start of the season, who knows? It very well could be. But I think going into the spring season, I think the number one quarterback is going to be Jalen Milroe, and I think those quarterbacks are going to have opportunities to make themselves better. And that's something that Coach Saban continues to say is spring football is about that opportunity to get repetitions. And he knows that we're obsessed with depth charts. He's not obsessed with depth charts. We get one depth chart, and that's at the beginning of the season, right before week one on Monday. It's comes like clockwork. So that's when we'll get our official depth chart from Coach Saban. Coming to you from beautiful Tuscaloosa, Alabama. My name is Kyle Henderson of Bama Insider. Thank you very much for joining me, and thank you very much for being a part of this YouTube channel. Almost to 90,000 subscribers, which is pretty incredible when you stand back and think about it. 205-850-1994 is the call. And there you see Will Riker, number 16, leading the team and team drills. How about that? Someone from the special teams, right, coming up. And how you feel about Will Riker return? I feel good about it. I think, there's been, when you think about Will Riker, I think maybe you associate yourself with that Tennessee game, but he's done much more than that particular game, that particular play. I think Will Riker is a solid kicker that's coming back for the University of Alabama in 2023. Coach Saban talked about the fact that Kevin Steele is going to coach the defense and kind of walk around. And I want to get your take on Kevin Steele, because when I think about Kevin Steele, and I've said this before on previous shows, I think about the time that he coached the Auburn Tigers defense, and that defense was ferocious. It was hard hitting. They were tough to run on. They were tough to pass against. Seems like they were everywhere. And the times that Alabama battled them, that was one of the best defenses that they faced all year. So I'm curious to see if he brings that mentality to Alabama. I think he will. I think he's cut from that old school cloth. And I think the Alabama defense wants that old school mentality in terms of flying to the football, tackling, doing those little things to wrap up opposing players. And I think Steele is going to bring that mentality. Oh, what's up, Joe Will? I appreciate the super chat, man. Thank you so much. Really great way to start off the morning. I'll leave that up for a minute. Call-in line is 205-850-1994. I'd love to get your calls this morning to talk about this football team going into the spring season. What's up, Gary? I see you inside the comment box. He says, proud to have Simpson and Milroe. And Chris says he had that defense on point. I 100% agree, because I had never seen, and I kind of revert to that 2017 season. I'd never seen Alabama's offense be pushed around before, especially inside the trenches. What's up, Dean? Thank you very much for the thumbs up in the comment box. And they did. They had the edge on Alabama, and they really took it to them. And that was kind of the defense that I think about when I think about Kevin Steele. I don't think about the later part of him in Miami that was too small to gauge, but clearly the fact that he's been here a few times under Nick Saban understands the type of mentality that Kevin Steele has, right? Or else he wouldn't be bringing him back. I think it's for like the third time or something like that. And I like the fact that he's older, more established, has that wisdom. And then you see Tommy Rees right here, and he's the younger guy. I don't even think he's 35 years old. So you have this two contrasting styles of the defense and the offense. And what Coach Saban is a genius at is making sure that he keeps kind of that old school mentality, how he runs the organization. But in terms of what he brings from an offensive standpoint, we continue to see this Alabama offense emerge and evolve. Most importantly, that's probably the key word, is to evolve. And we've certainly seen Alabama's offense emerge since that time that Brian Dable was the offensive coordinator. And you kind of look through the offensive coordinators that Alabama has had since that period. All of those guys have added different wrinkles and, most importantly, advanced the offense. I think we could probably have, thanks again, Joe Will, for the super chat. Really appreciate it. But I think people would have something to say about that regarding Bill O'Brien, because it didn't seem like Alabama's offense necessarily evolved this last season, right? It seems like they were it seems like it just lacked that creativity that kind of Alabama's accustomed to. And you can throw that on Bill O'Brien, or you could throw that on the players and the lack of maybe explosive players that Alabama had. If you look at the stats from last year, you look to the fact that Jahmyr Gibbs had 44 receptions for 444 yards. That was something new that we saw with the running back getting a ton of carries, three touchdown receptions, and the leading receiver for the team last year. He had the most receptions. Now, the leader in terms of yardage was Jermaine Burton, who's also returning 677 yards, and Ja'Cory Brooks, who's also returning with 674 yards, and then Kobe Prentice, who's also returning with 337 yards. Out of those three receivers that we mentioned right there, which wide receiver do you think has the most dynamic ability to stretch the field? I think when we look to Alabama's offense, I think that they lacked a player that could really take the defense over the top. And that's why I'm really excited to see the added elements from the receiver standpoint when you look to a new addition that's coming from the transfer portal and Malik Benson. Because I think when we look to guys who could, take the team over the top, maybe it's going to be Isaiah Bonds. Maybe it's going to be a new addition to the room. Malik Benson, I know a lot of people are excited about him and what he brings. And I think that he's going to bring that to Alabama, because when you see Alabama's wide receiver standpoint from the last several years, Alabama fans have been so spoiled in terms of guys who just have that elite speed, guys who are, first round picks. And as you can see from this coming draft, there's not any first round draft picks from the receiver standpoint. And I think that really hampered Alabama's overall ability to stretch the field this past year. So while you can point the finger on Bill O'Brien, which I agree, it seemed like a very vanilla style of offense, I also think that they just didn't have the playmakers that they've had in the past. We'll take our first caller, and we'll take it right now. Hey, good morning. You're on the line with Kyle Henderson. Who I'm on the line with, and where are you calling in from? Hey, what's going on, man? Good morning. Thanks for calling in. Go ahead. I'm sorry, man. We dropped the call. Call line is 205-850-1994. So when I think to, Alabama's offense, I look to, what is Tommy Rees going to bring to Alabama, and how is he going to continue to evolve this offense? And I think a lot of that is going to go to the quarterback position, right? What are we going to have in terms of the quarterback, and how can that quarterback move this offense, whether that's Jalen Milrow, whether that's Ty Simpson or somebody else? Can we continue to evolve that offense and make sure to utilize the players that are coming in? When you look to Alabama's potential depth chart and the guys that are coming back, there's a lot of younger wide receivers that I'm really excited about in this room. Guys who did have the opportunity to get their feet wet last year. Isaiah Bond, as I mentioned, of course, Kobe Prentice. Kobe Prentice was so incredible for just being a first round player. And that old adage that players don't play when they're freshmen at Alabama. I mean, clearly Kobe Prentice was doing his thing, and he was very dangerous. I also look for a player like Kendrick Law. And Alabama actually shared a photo just recently of let's see if we could have him here, Amari Niblack. And I continue to say that Amari Niblack is going to be a guy who can get to the outside, or you can maybe add him up in some weird formation to where you can have him on the inside, and he can be a matchup problem. So I look to guys that are coming in that can add that explosiveness to the wide receiver room. And then you have CJ Dupree, who is another tight end that, how is Alabama going to use him? I think Cam Latu last year took a step backwards. I think the year before he was that guy who caught 8 touchdown passes, but last year seemed to drop a lot of passes, which he's not really accustomed to seeing from Cam Latu. Hey, what's up, Dean? I see you again inside the comment box. Ty Simpson going to be a passing team. Jalen Milrow going to be a running team. I look, I I kind of go back to the fact that, and I think I brought this up yesterday before we were having our internet issues. Point out some stats again, um, and I go back to the fact that Jalen Milrow. I don't know if people forget this or not, but I like to bring it up because Jalen Milrow started against Texas A&M last year. Right? Remember all the hype that was going around the Alabama Texas A&M game. You have your backup quarterback start. Damn, Joe Will, appreciate it, man. Yo, thank you so much. I appreciate you supporting the channel so much, man. Thank you, honestly. Really means a lot. Put a lot of work into the channel. Um, you know, I it's a lot, man. So thank you very much, and I really appreciate the super chat. I go back to this fact when I talk about Jalen Milrow and the fact that he started against Texas A&M. And I'll read these stats. These are from the University of Alabama. I think I read this yesterday, but it was a little bit choppy, so I'll read them again. Made his first career start against Texas A&M, tied for the second most passing touchdowns in UA starting debut with 3 touchdowns. Accumulated 111 yards and 3 scores, was 12 of 19 passing with 1 interception, 17 rushes for 81 yards with the longest of 33. So when you look to what he was able to do against Texas A&M, granted that that was the first time he started, that was a big game, right? That was a monster game for Jalen Milrow to come in and for Alabama to have that confidence to be able to have him start. And I think Alabama knew going into that game that if Jalen Milrow, limited his interceptions and limited his turnovers, and that was kind of a thing that we were seeing him do, that Alabama would be in good shape. So the more experience that Jalen Milrow continues to get, not only this spring, but into the season, I think he's going to be a fine quarterback. I mean, you look at the physical dimensions that he has. I mean, the guy's a monster. We've seen him in the weight room. We've seen that he's one of the fastest players on the team. I think it's going to be, a great lineup if we can continue to see him evolve. I would like to see him slide more, right? That's probably one of the things that they're working on inside the red zone, because there was that time he got hit and he like helicoptered in the air. Right, all of us were like, "My goodness!" I think didn't his helmet come off or something? Am I tripping? And then when you have Ty Simpson, I said this yesterday too. Ty Simpson has what Bryce Young has, and that's a escapability, the ability to extend plays, the ability to make you miss, the eyes downfield. Go back and watch. I know we don't have a lot of tape of Ty Simpson just yet, but go back and watch his high school film. Seriously, it'll blow you away. And I know it's not against the best competition in Tennessee, but the fact remains is he can move around. He can make you miss. He can keep his eyes downfield. And I think he has a very underrated arm. So his father is coach at UT Martin, so he knows the schematics of breaking down an offense. Bright kid. I really think the world of Ty Simpson, to be honest. So if he was to get some opportunities, this coming season, or if he wins a spot, Alabama's going to be in a good spot. Either way. Last year, he was only 4 or 5 passing for 35 yards, but we did see him a little bit of a sprinkle of him in the spring game as well. Then you have the 2 younger quarterbacks coming in, Eli Holstein, 6'4", 237 pounds, and then Dylan Nonagram, 6'2", 212 pounds. And then Andrew Bone of On3 said that Julian Sayin is in Alabama this week. He's a 2024 quarterback commit. I think Andrew's article said that he got in from Sunday and that he is here from Thursday. And of course, you can go read more of that back on On3's website. Alabama basketball, just real quick while we're here, I just want to hit on what the basketball team is doing. Just some quick hits real quick. Alabama basketball defeated Maryland 73-51 in round 2 of the NCAA tournament. Quinterly had 22 points. He was 9 of 14 shooting from the field, 4 of 6 from beyond the arc. Brandon Miller collected 19 points and 7 boards, with Charles Bediako had 10 points and 10 boards, double-double. Alabama will make its 9th Sweet 16 appearance in program history in the second and last 3 years. Head coach Nate Oates is now 10-3 in 13 postseason games at the helm of Alabama's basketball program. The Crimson Tide will take on San Diego State. I believe that's at 5 p.m. Central Time on Friday, March 24th. Big shout out to the basketball team for all the things that they've accomplished this season. Really incredible run. And I know you're watching your bracket, as am I. I just filled out one bracket. I don't fill out like 10 brackets or whatever. I just fill out one bracket and kind of just ride or die. I actually have, because I'm in this Alabama group of, like thousands of Alabama fans. So I'm trying to win, right? We're trying to win the game. So I have actually Gonzaga win the bracket, but I'm trying to win. Look, do I think that Alabama has a shot? Of course. I mean, look what they've done this season. But I'm trying to win the bracket, so I had to like kind of switch it up. That Charlie Strong is back on this coaching staff. And he's an analyst. And then you have Kevin Weisenhunt, who is a special assistant to Nick Saban. And the special assistant is a role that actually Butch Jones played for a little while here at Alabama. Remember, I think Coach Saban even referred to him as an intern at one point, right? So that's Ken Weisenhunt will be the special assistant to Nick Saban. What a title, right? You're like, yeah, I'm the special assistant to Coach Saban. And what does that entail? Like, what do you do? What does a special assistant do? I think that would be a good series, right? Like the special assistant to the GOAT. Other notes that I wanted to run through real quick, and we'll have this show at 9, so let's get in the rhythm of you guys calling into the show. We touched on Tony Mitchell and the fact that Nick Saban had some comments for that situation. We talked about the defensive coaching staff within the secondary, the injuries that Nick Saban had. Deontay Lawson and Dallas Turner out for spring. So that's going to provide some opportunities for some inside linebackers and for some outside linebackers to step up during this spring season. I posted a picture of Kendrick Blackshire yesterday, and everyone's really eager to see his continued development. Remember in high school, those photos of him just standing there is like the most diesel dude ever in high school. Roydell Williams and Devontae Smith are recovering from injuries and should return at some point this spring. Robbie Oots, Jameer Latham, and Justin Abogbe limited this spring. And Chris, I don't know what surgery that was. But the good news is Roydell Williams and Devontae Smith recovering from those injuries and will be back at this point this spring. So yeah, those are kind of some of the things that we're tracking as we continue to navigate through spring football. Again, my name is Kyle Henderson of BamaInsider.com. Yesterday we had technical difficulties, so wanted to come back, hit it hard on Wednesday, March 22nd. We will continue to have more coverage revolving the Alabama football team. We got player interviews today. We'll post that on our YouTube channel, and we will continue to bring you coverage when it comes to the Alabama football team. Again, your basketball team plays on Friday. I believe it's 5 p.m. Central Time against San Diego State. Everybody's going to be eating that game up. Can't wait to see Alabama versus San Diego State. Hit the thumbs up, like, subscribe. We really appreciate the super chats today from Chill Will. Really appreciative of that, and have a lot of gratitude for everybody that's watching our show and tuned in right here on our YouTube channel. Please hit the thumbs up, like, subscribe. If you want to become a member of our channel, you could hit the join button at the bottom of any of our videos, and you can help support our business model and continue to help us grow as a company right here on BamaInsider.com. I hope you have a beautiful rest of the day. Thank you very much. Have a lot of gratitude to all of you guys for sticking with us right here on Bama Insider. I will catch up with you guys next time, and hit the bell so you're notified every time we drop a video. From beautiful Tuscaloosa, Alabama, Kyle Henderson of Bama Insider.